Greetings, fellow humans and aliens. You're listening to a show that takes a step back into the past to discover secrets and mysteries you never knew. Welcome to Talkosaurus. I'm your host, Evine and Abassy, here today with a good friend and archaeologist, Karaline Pickle.
Howdy.
So, long story short, we don't really know what we think we know when it comes to the past, do we?
No, of course not. We're not 100% sure about anything, really. Everything is, at most, an educated guess or a hypothesis that we create when we look at the facts that we do have, because we don't really have enough evidence to make 100% informed decisions.
So when it comes to dinosaurs, what do we use to figure out what we think we know?
Well, we have a lot of fossils, so we typically have a lot of bones. Sometimes we can find patterns of scales. In Canada recently, in 2017 actually, they found a mummified dinosaur with skin and guts intact.
Wow.
Yes, so they could see individual scales on the dinosaur. So from that we can piece together some idea of what some of the dinosaurs may have looked like.
So thinking about what we are told or what we believed as children through books or through cartoons, we've seen dinosaurs looking very earth scale toned or very skinny to the bone almost. Would these be considered true? Would you believe that these aspects of dinosaurs that could be true, or do you believe dinosaurs may have looked differently?
Well, there's definitely a possibility that these could be true, but if you look at more modern-day examples of similar species, then you can see there may be some discrepancies. So, for example, most of the examples we think of as children, big green scaly dinosaurs, comes from alligators and crocodiles who lived around the same time period, and they haven't evolved much since then. But we know that dinosaurs have probably evolved more from birds than from alligators, so they may have been more similar to birds, like having feathers, having more beak-like structures.
Now, speaking of birds do have a very different voice compared to dinosaurs. Now, why do birds have such high-pitched voices? Is there something with their vocal cords, or...?
Well, birds don't actually have vocal cords.
That's interesting.
Structure in their throat that helps them mimic they can mimic sounds, but others just make their own sounds. But yeah, they don't have vocal cords.
Now, do you think that dinosaurs may have had a similar thing where they could essentially chirp like birds or make different sounds?
Definitely could be. I don't believe we found anything that could prove evidence to the contrary. We'd have to find more throats in general intact. We'd need to find evidence of either vocal cords or the type of structures that birds have to make any clear decision on whether or not they would sound more like birds or more like alligators.
Now, still on the topic of birds do have a lot of feathers. Now, do you think that dinosaurs as well majority of dinosaurs may have had feathers kind of like birds because they are similar in structure and in appearance?
Yeah, there's a lot of evidence that dinosaurs may have had feathers. Sorry. There's a lot of evidence that dinosaurs may have had feathers. And when you look at, say, an image of a goose without feathers, they look very odd.
Oh, wow, they do.
Yes, they do. Very odd compared to how you see a goose with feathers. So if you imagine the same difference with dinosaurs, the way we picture them with, like you said, very close to the bone, maybe just muscle and then immediately scales on top. If they had feathers, that would drastically change their appearance.
And now, speaking of body mass, there are some animals nowadays, such as whales. Their skeletons are quite small compared to the actual mass of the whale. Do you think that for some dinosaurs this would be the case, where the dinosaur itself would be a lot larger than the skeleton maybe, how we perceive it?
Yeah, of course. We have to take into account the amount of fat that the animal has on it, so that's definitely going to change their body structure and how they appear on the outside versus how their bone structure looks. So that would be a major factor, which we can't really tell because fat doesn't like to stick around. So yeah, until we can find more evidence with, say, fat or skin included, then it's going to be hard to tell what they actually look like.
All right, well, that's all the time we have today. It was a real treat having you on the show with me today.
My pleasure.
We discussed a lot about so many mysteries about dinosaurs, as well as compared them to reptiles that we find today. Don't forget to stay tuned for next week's podcast, when we take a dive into the depths of the Cretaceous time period to explore many sea monsters that once lived. Signing off one last time, stay tuned, my wild fellow humans and aliens. Over and out.